Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Epictetus. 5 signs of a weak mind. A weak mind isn't always obvious. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows itself in the way we react to challenges, in our habits, and in the things we choose to focus on. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from discipline, wisdom, and control over our own thoughts. But what happens when we lack these qualities? Today, we're looking at 5 signs of a weak mind through the lens of Stoic philosophy, and more importantly, how to overcome them. So let's dive in. Number 1. Emotional reactivity. If you are disturbed by external things, it is not they that trouble you, but your own judgment of them. Marcus Aurelius. A weak mind is controlled by emotions rather than reason. It reacts instantly to situations. Anger flares up at the slightest inconvenience. Frustration takes over when things don't go as planned, and fear paralyzes action. Instead of pausing to assess, it lashes out or retreats. Think about the last time someone insulted you, criticized your work, or dismissed your ideas. Did you react immediately? Did your emotions take control before you had time to think? This is the hallmark of a weak mind. It allows external events to dictate internal peace. The Stoics taught that emotions are not the problem, our attachment to them is. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that it's not events that disturb us, but how we interpret them. This means that no one can make you angry, frustrated, or anxious unless you allow them to. Epictetus gave a simple but powerful exercise. Imagine yourself as a rock in a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours, the waves crash against it, but the rock remains still. No matter what happens outside, its foundation does not shake. This is the mindset of emotional control. When something triggers an emotional reaction, take a breath. Pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? More often than not, it isn't. So how do you strengthen this skill? 1. Practice the pause. Before reacting, count to 5. Give yourself space to respond with reason, not emotion. 2. Reframe the situation. Instead of seeing challenges as personal attacks, view them as tests of your self-mastery. 3. Detach from opinions. Not everything requires your response. Sometimes, silence is the strongest reaction. Seneca put it perfectly. A setback has often cleared the way for greater prosperity. Many things have fallen only to rise to more exalted heights. In other words, don't let emotions dictate your actions. Stay grounded, stay rational, and let your mind rule over impulse. Emotional reactivity is weakness. Emotional control is power. Number 2, lack of self-discipline. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. A weak mind is ruled by impulses. It seeks comfort over challenge, pleasure over growth, and immediate gratification over long-term success. Think about it. How often do we say, "I'll start tomorrow," only for tomorrow to come and go? How often do we make plans, only to abandon them the moment they become difficult? Self-discipline is not just about resisting temptation. It's about building the ability to act according to reason rather than emotion. When we lack discipline, we become slaves to our desires. We scroll endlessly on social media, overindulge in food and entertainment, and avoid discomfort at all costs. This weakens the mind and keeps us trapped in a cycle of stagnation. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes not from doing whatever we want, but from controlling ourselves. Seneca once said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." This means having the strength to act in alignment with our values, even when it's difficult. So how do we develop self-discipline? The answer lies in small, consistent actions. The Stoics trained themselves daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself every morning to stay focused and not be ruled by laziness. Epictetus encouraged practicing voluntary hardship, like taking cold baths or fasting, to strengthen the mind's ability to endure discomfort. Start with small challenges. Wake up at the same time every day. Follow through on your commitments, no matter how you feel. Delay gratification. When you crave something, wait 10 minutes before giving in. Over time, these small acts build resilience, transforming weakness into strength. Self-discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger the more you train it. Number 3, fear of criticism. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. A weak mind craves approval and dreads judgment. It avoids risks, stays silent to avoid conflict, and hesitates to act because of what others might think. This fear keeps people trapped in mediocrity, never stepping outside their comfort zone, never pushing their limits, and never pursuing their true purpose. But here's the truth. Criticism is inevitable. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, we can't control what others say about us, but we can control whether we let it affect us. Think about the greatest minds in history. Socrates was sentenced to death for questioning authority. Seneca was forced to take his own life because of political enemies, and Marcus Aurelius faced constant criticism from those who envied him. Yet they stood firm. Why? Because they understood that the opinions of others do not define reality. The solution to overcoming the fear of criticism is detachment. The Stoics practiced something called dichotomy of control, focusing only on what is within their power and ignoring what isn't. What others think of you, not in your control, what you do despite their opinions, completely in your control. Ask yourself, are you living for yourself or for the approval of others? The moment you realize that other people's judgments are fleeting and often meaningless, you free yourself from their grip. Seneca put it best. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. And that applies to validation too. Speak your mind. Take action. Let people think what they want, because at the end of the day, their opinions will fade, but your growth will last forever. Number 4, inability to handle adversity. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Life is unpredictable. Challenges, setbacks, and failures are inevitable, but a weak mind crumbles under pressure. It sees adversity as a curse, not a lesson. It complains, plays the victim, and avoids hardship rather than facing it head-on. The Stoics believed that adversity is the ultimate test of character. Epictetus, born into slavery, endured hardship most of his life, yet he taught that we should embrace obstacles rather than resist them. He said, "Difficulties show a person's character. So when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler whom God, like a trainer, has paired with a tough opponent." In other words, life is a training ground. Every setback is a chance to grow stronger. If we run from difficulty, we remain weak. If we face it, we develop resilience. Think about fire. It doesn't shrink when wind blows against it. It grows. The same applies to the mind. When faced with adversity, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, What can I learn from this? Instead of resisting hardship, embrace it as fuel for growth. Seneca taught something called premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils, a mental exercise where you visualize potential hardships before they happen. By preparing for difficulty in advance, you lessen its power over you. If you expect life to be easy, every setback will feel like an injustice. If you accept that struggle is part of life, nothing can shake you. Strength isn't avoiding hardship, it's thriving in it. Number 5, lack of purpose. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Seneca. A weak mind drifts through life without direction. It follows routines, chases short-term pleasure, and waits for something external to give it meaning. But without a clear sense of purpose, the mind becomes restless, unfulfilled, and easily distracted. The Stoics believed that a life without purpose is a wasted one. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I am rising to do the work of a human being.'" Purpose is what drives action. It's what keeps us disciplined, resilient, and focused, even when things get difficult. So, how do you find purpose? The Stoics taught that purpose isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. It starts with identifying what truly matters to you. Ask yourself, what do I want to contribute to the world? What am I willing to suffer for? What work would I do, even if I wasn't paid for it? Your purpose doesn't have to be grand. It could be mastering a skill, helping others, or simply becoming the best version of yourself. The key is to live intentionally, to wake up each day knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Seneca warned against wasting time, saying, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." The weak mind drifts. The strong mind decides. Choose purpose over aimlessness, and your life will transform. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. A weak mind is not a permanent condition. It's a habit, a pattern of thinking that can be changed. The Stoics understood that true strength comes from within, not from wealth, status, or physical power. It comes from mastering yourself. If you recognize these signs in yourself, don't see them as flaws. See them as opportunities. Every moment is a chance to strengthen your mind, to develop resilience, discipline, and wisdom. As Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Control your emotions. Don't let them control you. Build discipline, even when it's uncomfortable. Stop fearing criticism. It means you're doing something meaningful. Face adversity head-on. It's shaping you into something stronger. Live with purpose, because without it, you drift. The Stoics didn't just study philosophy, they lived it. The real question is, will you? Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe, turn on post notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in our next video.